All right, another discussion video, but this time about a different series, Resident Evil. Specifically 4, but I want to go through like the games that I've played because the series on a whole, I'm not entirely the biggest fan of. Let's see. The first Resident Evil game was 2. It was like on the N64. It was like, oh my god, the fact that it even got on the N64 is like a miracle. But yeah, that was like my first Resident Evil game. And let's see. I have played a little bit of the original Resident Evil 3. And I think that's a bit better. But that was a long time ago, so I don't know if I can remember it, honestly. And then, okay, I'll get to Resident Evil 4 last. In 2009, got Resident Evil 5. Me and my brother used to play that all the time. And yeah, it was good. It was good. I've never played 6, but from what I've seen, it's okay. I know 6 gets a lot of hate and shit. Wait a minute. I have played 6. Oh my god. It's just been a long time. But I don't really remember my experience. But yeah, it's not that bad of a game. People just like to hate on it for the sake of hating on it. I don't know. Sure, there's way too much like action, explosions everywhere. It's madness. Directed by Michael Bay, but it's still an okay game. You know, it's still worth a shot playing. And yeah, the series on a whole is very inconsistent in terms of like the tone, because the first 3 games want to be survival horror. The next 3 games want to add some action into that, and it got a little bit out of hand with 6. And now for 7 and 8, we're returning to survival horror with a little bit of action sprinkled in, I guess. More in 8 than 7. But as for 7, let's see. I really enjoyed 7 until you get to the boat, which is like the worst part of the game. But overall, it's really fun. But I especially love Village. That's a really, yeah, it's a huge improvement on 7 in terms of gameplay and like story for Ethan Winters. Like he was a complete nothing character in 7. It's like, why does he exist? But then he becomes like really, really likable in my opinion. Honestly, in 8, my God, he's got several cheesy lines, but you know, so does every other Resident Evil protagonist. But yeah, really epic game. I can't wait for the DLC coming out later this year. But Resident Evil 4, let's get into that. That's the one that kind of stuck with me ever since it came out. Let's see. The game is like 17 years old now. And my friend got it like the day it came out. And I used to like be be at his house almost every day to watch him play it. And yeah, let's see. Back in 2005, I was like 8 years old, and you can imagine it gave me nightmares. But looking back on it, it's like good memories of having nightmares of all the enemies that try to kill you in there. But specifically Resident Evil 4, I don't know what it is, what the magic of it is that keeps me coming back to it. I'm still playing it today. I played it on GameCube, on PS2, and I'm currently playing it on Switch now. Even though I remember people saying it's not worth buying on Switch, but come on, it's Resident Evil 4. Come on. Yeah, I don't remember my first experience playing it, but I just remember watching my friend play it all the time. And let's see, what's the scariest enemy for me? It's definitely the Regenerators on the island. Like, those guys gave me the most nightmares. And as for the chainsaw ladies, I remember I used to like think that they were like hiding in my closet, just waiting for me to go to sleep so they could just go, "What?" and just chop my fucking head off. I don't know. That's not what they say, but you know. Um, yeah, like, and Leon, he's got literally every line from Leon is like the coolest thing ever, but it's also like the cheesiest thing ever. But it's like the perfect 2005 game. I, I don't know how to describe it. It's definitely not perfect. There are definitely a lot of things that need to be fixed. And seeing that the remake is coming out next year, looking at the trailer, it looks like a completely different game, like, which is a good thing. It doesn't have to be like a rehash or just the same exact thing, just with good graphics. I'm all down for a new experience and shit because you can't bring back the old actors. It's been 17 years for God's sake. Like the voice actress of Ashley at the time was like in her 30s. I think she's like 50 something now. And it's so funny to me that she is also the voice of Sandy Cheeks from SpongeBob. Like when I first discovered that like a year ago, that just completely blew my mind. But you can hear it if you watch SpongeBob and play Resident Evil 4. You can hear it, like just yeah. Um, but yeah, like, it's just like there was a time I used to play like every single day. Like I was just so addicted to playing it. I don't know why. It's even though I'm doing the exact same thing and using. I do change the guns around a lot. That's how it goes mostly. But it's just yeah. I think it's due to the fact that I have such good memories with it, albeit horrifying memories, but still good. Like being with my friends, experiencing the horrors of it. I guess some people say it's not that scary and shit, but no, I guess now it's not scary, but at the time it was, especially in my age, when I was at my age or looking at it for the first time. But yeah, and going through it multiple times, it starts to show like its lack of difficulty. But you can say that for like any game. If you go through it like a million times, know all the patterns and shit, of course it's gonna get easy. But um, I've been seeing a lot of like people on YouTube play for the first time, and I, nothing but just complaining about the tank controls and shit, like struggling to understand how they work. Like, yeah, at first I remember I didn't like how you couldn't move and shoot, and like there, of course, the tank controls, like not moving around 360 and with it, but that was just like a minor nitpick. It was still fantastic at the time. Well, now, but like almost everything about it, I still love today. I'm part of this small, like primarily Resident Evil community on Discord, and hmm, sorry, yeah, I met a lot of really great friends there, and we like to discuss like what to see from the remake and what things we love and hate about the game that need improving. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun, just being there all the time and making a lot of jokes and shit, and just pointing out all the plot inconsistencies. But it's Resident Evil. It's not supposed to have like a thought provoking narrative or anything like that. It's just supposed to be a wacky, fun series, I guess. Which again, I haven't played every single game, and I'm not as big as. If it weren't for four, I wouldn't have gotten into like the rest in the future. I have played 2 and 3, but if it weren't for 4, I wouldn't have continued, I guess. And yeah, it's just it's stuck with me for so long. It's I keep referencing it every day to me and my friends because it's like it was like a part of my childhood too, and I'm really excited for the remake as well. Like we still have quite a while to wait, but there's a chance that it could not live up to everyone's expectations. But you know, that's just life. That's just how it goes. Like, especially for like remakes or reboots or whatever, there are going to be people that love it. There are going to be people that hate it, and that's just part of like personal opinion, I guess. Um, yeah, but I think I'm going to love it either way because it's Resident Evil 4. What's not to love? Yeah, and it's like the enemies too. The enemies especially uh, are especially very memorable. Like you got the villagers, you got the zealots, you got the Wolverine guy, you got the regenerators, as mentioned before, which have haunted me for days, well, years, and yet like all the characters too. Even though like let's see, Leon is like at the time he was like my favorite character in fiction because I just looked up to how fucking cool he is with like every single cheesy retort he has. It's like a fucking 90s action movie or some shit. I love it. Um, of course, there's Ada from Resident Evil 2. Of course, I was happy to see her first time. Well, first time I'm playing. I almost said Xenoblade, Resident Evil 4. Um, yeah, even the villains are a bit weird too. Like it's like yeah, the developers really didn't like take this too seriously. They understood how silly like most of it was being, and how silly the franchise has become at this point. And as for the spin-off games, I haven't played that many. I've only played like Darkside Chronicles and a little bit of Umbrella Corps. By the way, don't play Umbrella Corps. It's okay. Don't play it by yourself. Is what I mean. Multiplayer is fine. It's just it's an extremely repetitive game. But let's not talk about it. Oh, and as for the remakes that came out like last year and the year before, Resident Evil 2 remake was fantastic. Resident Evil 3 remake was good, but it could have been better, as I've seen many people say. And I kind of agree. There were a lot of missed opportunities there, but Resident Evil 2 remake was like as perfect as a remake can get, in my opinion. Yeah. As for Code Veronica, I'm currently like looking at walkthroughs of Code Veronica, and then there's also Dead Aim, which I've recently watched. It looks pretty. Yeah, it looks pretty good. A bit underrated, I guess. Hmm. But back to Resident Evil 4. Yeah, it's like I remember like the progression of me being at my friend's house watching him play every single day, like memorizing like every single time, or no, hang on, every single like room or progression of the areas and whatnot. Like there were some really genuinely terrifying moments, but then again, I was like 8 years old, so obviously it would have like a huge impact on my life, like just haunting me for years and shit. Like this one part, you're in the sewer, you climb up, and it's like you fight this like xenomorph looking. Uh, it's like the coolest enemy in the game. Like you can't just you can't just shoot him dead on. You gotta like freeze him first. But if you try to shoot him with like the Magnum, he does like some really cool dodges and shit. I've only seen these like a few years ago, and it's like they programmed this in the game all this time. It's definitely the coolest enemy in the game, in my opinion. The yeah. I really like the Elegantes too. Is that how you pronounce it? The big ogre enemies that you fight, especially the first one where the dog comes to help you, like distract him and shit. That's a Such a good boy. As for most of the bosses, they're pretty easy. Yeah, except for the two that I mentioned before. It's a bit easier for the giant if you have the dog with you. But for the most part, the bosses are really easy and shit. And for some reason, like Capcom programmed in the game like for RPGs to be like 30,000, and that's like super cheap. I really think they should like double the money in the remake, or just not have you buy be able to buy it at all, just to like cheese your way through the game. I don't know. And I've been watching a lot of like speedruns do that. For example, just all you need to do is just pick up treasures that are really not that hard to find, and just sell, and you got yourself an RPG to destroy every single boss that's in your way, and beat the game in less than an hour and a half. And that's just crazy to me. Like, I struggle to beat it in less than 2.5 hours, if even. But yeah. And there's also another thing I want to talk about is like the mods that are made for the game. Like, there's like a ton of them. But my favorite ones are the Rising of Evil mods that it just makes like the entire environment all foggy and dark. That's a bit of an a nitpick with me. I don't really like that, but they they put in like the every single like strong enemy like in every single room. There's no chance to breathe or anything like that. You gotta like always. It's just so stressful. I can't imagine ever playing one of those mods, and thankfully I can't because I don't. Yeah, I don't have the game on PC, and I don't think I ever will try. I just rather watch people on YouTube like do it themselves. But yeah, there a lot of time like goes into that, like modding every single room in the entire game, putting all those enemies in. That must take like years of work, and they don't even like this. The one mod creator for Rising of Evil, he doesn't accept. I've personally spoken to him in the server that I'm in currently. I've personally spoken to him at one point, and it was like, yeah, it was crazy to ask him like how long it took, how how did what made you decide to do all of this. It's crazy that so many people are dedicated to this game that they would make it make it like a lot more fun by putting like boss enemies everywhere and shit. There are times where it could not function well and like just straight up crash every once in a while, but it's still worth playing, I guess, if you want to put yourself through that. But yeah, that's what keeps that's another thing that keeps Resident Evil 4 alive today, and that's why people are still playing it. It's just like they're so dedicated to it, and people are recognizing this dedication that they're playing it for the first time. I'm seeing like from a year ago to and like a few months ago, there's people that are started playing it and love it with of course a few nitpicks, but they remind themselves that yeah, it came out in 2005, so big fucking whoop. Why not? Why not rip apart the outdated mechanics, I guess. Oh, and as for the VR port, well, okay, the amount of ports are ridiculous. It's like on every single platform. That's how much people love this game. But as for VR, I've really wanted to try that, but still don't have the finances for it. But I've been seeing a lot of people play it, and yeah, it looks really, really good. A nice little updated version of the game. There are a few changes that I don't like. There are a few changes that are understandable, like certain lines have been removed. But let's not get into that. It's still a great experience and a great for like first time players, I guess, to play in VR. Well, like one of my friends is currently playing on VR, and they're really enjoying it so far. And they're not even that huge on the well. They don't play that much, but yeah, even like people that don't play the series or that many games in general can really still enjoy the VR. So that's a plus. But yeah, I guess in conclusion, Resident Evil 4 is, I don't think it'll ever leave my mind because it's a part of my childhood, a huge part of my childhood, and I'm still playing it today, trying to figure out how to make things like a bit more challenging because I like to challenge myself when it comes to like my favorite games. Maybe I'll do a video about talking about challenges that I came up with in DE, my favorite game. I think I'll do that some other day, some other time. I don't know. But yeah, for all the Resident Evil fans out there, that for this channel, I guess this is mostly like for Xenoblade stuff. But you know, I can talk about other stuff some other time too, like other favorite games and how life is going, I guess. But yeah, Resident Evil 4 at the time was my favorite game until I found Xenoblade. So, and I always thought it weird to like Xenoblade and Resident Evil, but then I met like a bunch of people in another server I'm in that I met a bunch of people online that are huge fans of Xenoblade and Resident Evil, and I was like, oh, I guess it's not weird. Yeah, people are allowed to like other franchises, I guess. But yeah, they're just two completely different franchises. It's weird to have them as like number one and number two in my like my favorite games, I guess. But yeah, it's fine. Why not? But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video, which will probably be talking about challenges that I've come up with and that I encourage for those who play DE to attempt. But no one's as crazy as me to do that, so I'm still going to make the video. So see you later. Have a nice day.